So here's our call to action for you. Celebrate integrity, not just talent. Believe survivors when they tell you something. You know, the other day, my daughter called me, my stepdaughter, my bonus children, she called me, and she live in an environment that is a little toxic. And when she called me crying. And immediately, like a mama bear, I stopped and I went and I got her. And when she told me what her stepfather was doing, he took her devices, he threw her in the closet. And listen, we were on our way to the police station as fast as you could think it. And what I love about this incident, the police did not take it lightly. They were on it. Whether they were there to give him a harsh warning or just lock him up in the cell for the night, he understood that he couldn't do that again. Because the trauma he placed on her will take months for her to go through the healing process. You threw an 18-year-old in the closet and took all of her devices with no real idea that you were disciplining her. She don't even know what it was about. But for whatever reason, he did that. So I want us, and I believed her when she called me, and I acted immediately. Take that same thing take that same action when somebody tells you something is happening to them. Believe the survivor. Because what is interesting, they had to survive that trauma to come and tell you what was happening with them. So even just them surviving, they deserve to be heard and believed. Okay? Another call to action that we have for you. Hold leaders accountable. Do not excuse leaders. I'm not saying be disrespectful. We're not saying call them out in public. Find a quiet moment and say, could I speak with you a moment? It's about such and such. And whether they are receptive to what you're saying, you still be the bold one, the brave one that we're calling. Those who speak up, say something to the leader. Okay? Make room for redemption. This is another call to action. Make room for redemption that begins with truth and change. Make room for redemption that begins with truth and change. Everyone can be redeemed. No one is a lost cause. In God's kingdom, nothing and no one is wasted. So make room for it. We're always quick to judge until it's our time to be judged, right? So make room for redemption of others, because someday it may be you needing to be redeemed. So what could a possible path to redemption look like for Sean P. Diddy Combs? Well, first, you have to acknowledge, he has to acknowledge his behavior. He has to speak truth. He has to say, I did harm. Openly admit what he did. That is the first step to redemption. If he is not admitting that he actually did something, then what can be changed? Because awareness is the beginning of transformation. When we know better, we do better. So first, he needs to acknowledge that. Secondly, he needs to listen to the victims, whether it's a public forum or a private forum. Listen intently. Let them tell their side of what they experience. Listen. Sometimes victims of trauma just want to be heard. Maybe the person hearing them, he's in prison now, may not be able to do anything right away about it. But just hearing them. So first, acknowledge the truth of it, that he actually did something. Secondly, listen to the victims. Thirdly, be transparent. Own it. Don't get waved, I made a mistake. No. Be transparent about everything, about the wrongdoings, if you intend to change. People will forgive when you own it. I know I will. Own it. You've messed up. Be transparent, not vague. I think I may have made some mistakes in life. No. I think I did this, that, and the other. Be specific. Transparency. So acknowledge truth. Listen to the victims. Be transparent. And turn away. Understand, what does that mean? That means repentance. Repentance means to turn from one way of doing something and turn to do something differently that is better. Set up a lifestyle of perhaps donating to survivors' benefit, or perhaps making recompense financially to those who would have experienced loss and trauma to their health needs. You have to be tangible. He has to be tangibly affected. He can't just give words and lip service to it. After he's owned it, after he has listened, after he's been transparent, now those actions have to lead into tangible resolutions for the victims and for those who are experiencing it, maybe not at his hands, but at the hands of others. He can also be a part of counseling. One of the things is he has trauma. Hurt people hurt people. So part of his redemption, he must go through counseling, an intense counseling. That not somebody who see him as a mogul and wanna suck up to him, for lack of a better word, but somebody who will be real with him, tell him the truth, and demand of him to come up higher after the counseling to do the necessary steps for him to heal and for him to not be a repeat offender, right? Because if we're not dealing with it, then it gets repeated. So he has to acknowledge it. He has to listen. He has to be transparent in it. He has to submit to counsel. He has to give back. He has to make amends, financial compensation. And showing evidence of changed behavior. That has to be done in real time. And treating people differently. And that has to be seen. People may say, oh, he just publicly doing this for people to see. No. People need to see publicly that he's a changed man. After counseling and after making recompense. They need to do it publicly because the revelation of what Sean P. Diddy Combs did was a public event. So he had to publicly show a pattern of changed behavior. That's the path to redemption. The call to action again: celebrate integrity, not just talent. Hold leaders accountable. Believe the survivors. Make room for redemption that begins with truth and change. Friends, let's imagine a world where power doesn't corrupt, where truth doesn't hide, and where wholeness is celebrated as much as success.
A brand new episode of Imagine Greater with Michelle Bethel Gibson drops next week.
Few modern figures in society in our conversation today has changed the conversation about conviction like Charlie Kirk. We're leaning into a conversation that has challenged how we see conviction, how we see courage, how we see calling. What happens when conviction collides with culture? And how can we imagine greater versions of ourselves?
Subscribe or follow to get notified.